Hello, it is my honor today to introduce Pam L. Pam is a facilitator and a communications coach, as well as a consultant who offers deep expertise in presentation skills. She'll draw on more than 30 years' experience working across many industries as she's leading us today. Pam began her career working in healthcare, IT, in a technical role and moved through various roles, ultimately landing in sales. Pam is a professional member of the National Speakers Association and has coached TEDx speakers and trained numerous senior leaders. When she's not working, you can find her comparing. When she's not competing, you can find her compete. Okay, take two. When she's not working, you can find her competing in triathlons and climbing mountains. Wow. Please welcome Pam.
I love it. I love that because as I was standing there, and I've presented a lot, I still felt my heart rate increase. Do you all have that? No matter how prepared we are, how much we practice, our body still responds to the anticipation of getting up in front of a group. I had an excellent opportunity this weekend to observe an entire day of speakers, which was really fun for me. I love that, all different backgrounds. I was up off the coast of Maine in a remote area at this man, and I was in a remote area because the host lives there. His house, the driveway, the Atlantic Ocean. It was gorgeous. He's a meteorologist who has been down to Antarctica multiple times, wintered over, which means our summer, their winter, the worst weather on the planet. And there were a group of over 120 people at this reunion this weekend who had all done the same, at least once, some multiple times. Saturday was reserved for an entire day of presenters. Wow, I felt like I was in the candy store. It was wonderful. One after the other, every 20 to 30 minutes, we had a different presenter. The fact is, all of them were so well qualified to present. They were experts in what they were talking about. Topics ranged from some of the investigation they've done on the core of the ice as they drill down and try to figure out what happened millions of years ago by examining what they're able to bring back up, the advanced equipment, all of that, to things such as how are we going to provide power in this self-contained region of the world for the next 20 years? Our power plant now is aging, the ice is starting to make the arch cave in, and what are our solutions, what options do we have? Very interesting topics. So you know, from a presentation observer, they all knew exactly what they were talking about, and probably much like any of us, given the task of presenting, they thought about what's my topic, what am I going to present to this audience, what slides do I need to back that information up. They had all that concrete information there. Yet the impression that I got as an observer was so different from presentation to presentation, from one presenter to another. And I really was thinking about why that is. And it came back to, there's more to giving a good presentation than just those concrete things, than just the slides you have, than just your background. Sure, we think about, were they making good eye contact? Did they speak loud enough so the audience could hear them? Those kind of things. Did they have a tick or say every other word so it distracted from what their topic was? But beyond that, I've really come to understand that there are what I call some intangibles in presenting. I've got three I'd like to share with you today. The first one is attitude. There was a variety of attitudes that came to the front of the room. Made me think about what attitude I come with when I'm presenting to an audience. And how about you? What attitude do you bring? Are you positive about what you're presenting? Do you have a good outlook about it? Are you energetic and sharing with your audience? we can really do a lot of work in our attitude with our self-talk. You know that little voice in the back of your head that says, you're really not very good at this. You really shouldn't even be presenting this. You're not a good presenter. What are you doing up there? That dress looks terrible on you. Those shoes are bothering your feet. Whatever it might be, your self-talk gets in the way. And I think the biggest way I've found it affect my attitude before I present is how I talk to myself. Yes, you're ready. Yes, you're worthy. Have a good attitude and some good energy as you come in to present to this audience. The second thing, I call them the ABCs of intangibles. A is attitude, and the B has totally slipped my mind, which happens all the time. As you go through and you're trying to think, ABCs, when you plan out a presentation, it's no slides, so I have a method so I can remember. A is attitude, and B is, any ideas what B might be?
Be authentic.
Be authentic. Yes, what you helped me remember what B is. Thank you for participating. Belief. Belief is the B. Are you the right person to be giving this presentation to this audience right now? Do you really believe that? Do you believe that you're the right person and that you should be there and that you're worthy to be doing that? If you don't, again, like the attitude, work on that self-talk, the belief, I think, comes from confidence in knowing what you're doing and how you're doing that. So if you can back up, if you feel like you don't really believe that you should be doing what you're doing and you're worthy and you're the right speaker, back up and try to do more practice, get more concrete in what you're actually speaking about so that you do come to the belief that you're going to do a great job and you're the right person to be at that presentation. And then let's face it, it takes some courage to get up in front of people and give a presentation. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
No matter if you're that person, that gregarious, outgoing person who just naturally is great up in front of a group, it still takes courage. You're risking your reputation, maybe resistance to some of the ideas you're sharing, and you're just putting yourself out there depending on what you're talking about. So it takes some courage to get up in front of people. I know that I am not naturally a presenter. I'm a computer science and math person. I am all about finding out how things work, working through that process, analyzing things. I'm not the out in front of your face type person. I had to learn that, and it took a lot of courage to work through it. And I'm still working through it, as I imagine all of us are. I think it's a consistent and constant process of becoming a better and better presenter. So as you get ready to give your next presentation, let me encourage you, once you figure out what you're going to say for that audience, once you get your slides together and figure out what slides represent the information you want to convey and will best do that, maybe you practice some and you have all that laid out, you've got some presentation skills, you're making eye contact, you're using gestures, all those things we know about. Think also, spend some time, save some time for the intangibles, your attitude, your belief, and get your courage up for that next presentation. Thank you.
Perfect.
So Kelly, we'd love for you to start.
Okay.
The,
would.
feedback if you would.
Just gonna get some water.
So Pam, who would typically, who is the audience you have in mind as you develop this particular talk?
Good question. I would be talking to people who are wanting to improve their ability to give a presentation.
And do you have any more
Training
specifics
class.
about them? I mean, is there any audience you have coming up that you're working with, or is there kind of people that you want to be talking to?
Yeah, my ideal clients are like systems engineers, technical people, IT people, software people, hardware people, sales people that are involved in really intricate items that they're trying to sell, that kind of person.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So let's see. Where there's so much you do really well. I mean, you have a good presence in front of the room. You have good volume, you have a easy to listen to voice, and you structure your presentation so that we can easily follow it. So all those mechanical things that you talk about teaching other people, you nailed those things. So it's always good, especially when you're doing presentation skills. If you have good presentation skills, and you do, so that's a good thing.
I'm always working on those. I do have to say that one of my goals, and I should have said up front, Christy challenged me the last time I did one of these talks. I did more of a workshop format because I'm very comfortable doing workshops and have done that the most. Standing up in front of the group and just talking the whole time without
Without your notes, you did great.
Yeah.
I did drop into, I didn't have notes before, but I did use a flip chart, which is my crutch, but I did drop into participation because I forgot the B. However,
I thought that was
my
stellar,
goal was to.
Nice coverage. I'm going to steal that.
I was about to say, man, I hope I can stay that cool next time I do that.
All right. So given that the audience that you want to address, I'm going to give you a little coaching on the introduction that
That'd be
you
great.
had read for you.
Okay.
Or not read.
She didn't say anything about the reader.
No. So one of the things that I will do when I am presenting to an audience is I will I will write the introduction for them, so
Okay.
they don't have to put it together, and I will bring 2 copies. I give them 1 copy, and then I hold on to the other one in case they lose the other copy I gave them.
Okay.
And then I will print it out, double spaced, 16-point font at least. And I will try to put the breaks at the end of the lines in natural places where you take a breath or it makes sense,
Okay.
logical sense.
Visually, it's easy.
So it's easy to follow along.
Perfect.
And then I ask them to practice it. It's not the Gettysburg Address, but it does help set me up for the audience. So if you will, please don't improvise, just kind of read through it. Now,
Right.
with your audience, and with any of our audiences, what I'd like to do in an introduction is serve 2 purposes. One, what's in it for them, meaning the audience, and set that up. So because of your background and stuff, well, I'll go there in a minute. So, so you're a subject matter expert. You're presenting to a room of people who aren't. Do you ever get nervous? Do you ever worry about how am I going to get my information across to this audience? Or whatever it is that you're going to talk about.
Right.
So something that's in it for them,
Set up.
so that they're like, yep, yes, she knows me, she's got me. So
Okay.
that what's in it for them, and then why they should listen to you.
Some credibility.
Pam grew up as an IT person, a technologist. She was that mathematics person in the end, and she knew, and so she's been in your shoes. She knows what it's like to try to present technical information to a non-technical audience. And she's been doing, and in her career, she has spent 20 years doing that, helping subject matter experts with their blah, 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 blah.
Right. Great.
So immediately you kind of set that up. So what's in it for me, and why should I listen to Pam? And that, I think, will get your audience just
Ready to listen.
Right, tuned right in.
Good, thank you.
So then transitioning to this opening that you had about your experience in Maine.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of details there that confused me, and so you probably take away some of those pieces.
Right.
But I was recently in Maine listening to a group of Antarctic explorers explaining the technical aspects of their da-da-da-da-da.
Okay.
And I noticed that some of them worked with coaches, or I had worked with some of them, and I knew, and the technical aspects, and then lead into your topic. So just a couple ideas there.
Yeah, just focus a little bit more on the story part for my audience. Don't go through all, and the audience, just the miscellaneous details.
Right.
I thought were fun, but don't really serve my point.
Right, because what happens if we get into too much of the details of the driveway and the view and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But you started by saying something about, I had this day with speakers, and then you started describing going to this place in Maine and the view and the thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought she was talking about a day of speakers, and when my mind starts going somewhere else, or any audience member's mind starts going somewhere else, they're not with you.
And
Right.
you know that wasn't in my original talk today, because I remembered how pretty it was up there. So thank you for that. You got to stay on task.
Yeah.
Good.
So anyways,
Excellent, well
That
done.
was helpful.
So
Thank
I agree. I was also kind of, I find you really engaging. So I was in, I just wasn't sure what I was in for, right? So I was, I wrote down, I'm not really sure where we're going for a minute. So it just, the story, I loved the story, and I think it really does speak to the audience that you serve. I love the concept of the intangibles of speaking, because I think a lot of times those are the things that people struggle with the most. It's not the material, it's actually these elements.
Right.
So yeah, I think just a little bit of restructuring,
Mhm.
and if you take that, if you are going to do the showcase again this year,
Mhm.
and you tighten that story up a little bit, I think you're going to have something pretty powerful.
Okay, good.
And maybe weave it into the ABC.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an element that you can figure out how.
Substantiate the ABC.
Maybe, I don't know.
Parts of that each
Yeah.
time.
It may serve, it may not,
Yeah.
but something to think about.
Good.
I gotta tell you, I love the recovery. I love the way that you address, you let Patricia off the hook, right? So what you said was, yeah, guys, you know what that feels like, right? When you're nervous and you're standing up in
Right.
front of people, you
That wasn't actually
immediately-
a perfect thing for you to do for me.
Right, exactly. But it was really endearing for me to have you kind of hold her in that space. So I loved the fact that you were able to think on your feet that way. And the same thing when you forgot the B. I mean, how many of you guys have forgotten the next line and went, holy crap, now what, right? So I thought that
I
was
can't
fabulous.
jump to C, it's the ABC. Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
top-notch delivery. I think you tightened up your stories, and you probably have a pretty good 10-minute speech there.
Good, thank you.
I can't tell you how long it was because it's not my timer in time.
Okay, I'll look at it.
But you'll know.
Hi, welcome.
Hey, good to see you again. How have you been?
Pam, I've been great. How are you?
Oh,
Good to see you again.
Richard's like a local celebrity.
Oh, come on.
No, really,
Now, I only got here for B and C. And as a matter of fact, I almost stood outside, but I was like, wait, he's probably saying something pretty cool.
So you're why I forgot the B. No,
That-
I'm
it was-
kidding.
it was-
No, you didn't have anything to do with it.
So, but the good news about that for you and me is that I'm probably a good part of your audience. By background, computer science engineer,
Okay.
analytical type. So I remember when I started in the sales engineering part of the world, met Paul Santa. He was the ultimate mentor. He said, I'm a geek that speaks. So, I love the affirmative question that you had about wouldn't you agree? This, that subtle way of getting somebody to say yes a couple of times through the thing, and no matter how many things went wrong ahead of time, at the end they're saying, yes, bam, yes,
Okay,
let's do this.
good.
And I also like your posture and gestures. I saw you go over here and type, and then do some other things, and you have the advantage in wardrobe with the sorceress sleeves that accentuates your gestures. So, don't know that you're playing that wardrobe for really.
I really do.
Out of my sleeves.
Wow, everyone has had some really good comments. The thing I would add, though, is that your recovery on the B was so well that I didn't know if that was planned or if that was an accident. It was almost like, and you can think about sometimes doing that with your audience, having them fill in the blank for you, like you did, whether you've forgotten or not, in a sense. And that pulls the audience back in, because then they were like, okay, what could it be? So then you had that engagement with the audience that you wouldn't have had if you had really remembered and gone straight through.
Okay.
So maybe that's something to think about adding
It
in the
is,
future.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe engagement piece.
Yeah.
All right. So I liked your open story, and I was a little bit confused because I knew you had just come back from Influence. So I thought you were going to be talking there, and then you were in Maine. But the main story is really good, and I think that you did a great job of weaving it around to be able to get to the A, B, and C's. And I thought your speech was structured, tight enough just to keep it moving, keep us all interested in what's going on. I agree with the others said. You have great voice control, good volume, your hand gestures are good. I love your eye contact with the audience, but yet you stayed structured, so your feet were planted, you weren't you know, weaving all over the place. Everything about that was really good, so I liked it.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hi. Well, first of all, you're super likable on stage, and you just pull you in with, you just want to love on you and hear everything you have to say, and it's just like, yeah, a little bear hug. And so when you did go off, we all related and felt really comfortable with that, but everyone's gone on about that. One thing that stuck out for me was when you talked about your ABCs, and you were talking about A being self-talk. And I wanted to encourage you to put negative self-talk in there, because we all have self-talk, and what A and B are is the difference between negative and positive self-talk. And
Good point, thank you.
so just clarifying the negative self-talk, because I kept wanting to go, there's positive self-talk. And when you first said the self-talk, I was going down this line of positive self-talk, and then you took me to the negative self-talk. So it just took me into an argumentative place.
Okay. Don't want you there. So.
No. No.
Good catch.
But I did really love how the story related to what the presentations. I mean, you couldn't pick a better story. I mean, it was fantastic. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Okay, delivery very relaxed. The story about Maine kind of painted a picture with the ocean. I thought that was cool. I liked how you said every speaker is great, but I'm paraphrasing, but different. That was a good observation. But maybe you say, have you ever seen totally different speakers? You know what I mean? So you get, you're asking us a question as opposed to what you saw.
Right.
And the only thing is, I felt as little about you just telling a story. You weren't drawing us in, like asking us questions and that type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yep. So I think, and that's my dynamic of trying to figure out how to have some engagement without getting into my workshop mode, because it's so easy for me to.
We'll just ask rhetorical questions.
Yes, right,
Yeah.
rhetorical questions.
Right.
That was
Good,
great.
Thank you.
You know, I didn't have any critique. You know, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was excellent there. And, you know, there's always more to look at. Maybe go a little bit deeper and like talking about belief, like knowing what you have. You're the person to really offer this and know that like so substantially within yourself outward.
Great, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, everyone.